We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
23. Hey, what is up, you guys? This is Stuffy, aka In My Humble Opinion, and welcome back to another IMHO Film Club movie review. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a movie that I'm sure nobody really expected me to talk about on my channel, and honestly, this artist is very far out of my comfort zone. But I actually really enjoy music documentaries, and I enjoy biopics. Unpopular opinion to have, but I love biopics, music documentaries, so this really is technically up my alley. So in today's movie review, I'm going to be talking about the latest Netflix music documentary entitled Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell. So Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell was directed by Emmett Malloy and is a documentary about the life and creative genius of Christopher Wallace, aka hip-hop rap legend Notorious B.I.G, starting from his childhood in Brooklyn, New York to his tragic passing at the young age of 24. The documentary also features people who knew Biggie best, like his childhood best friend D-Roc, music collaborator P. Diddy, and his mother Valletta Wallace. Now, before we get into this movie review, I just have to say, for anyone who is a huge Notorious B.I.G fan that may be watching this, I am coming from the perspective of someone who really only knows the basic hits. I do not know Notorious B.I.G like that, so that's the perspective that I'm coming from to set level of expectation here. Okay, so as in all my movie reviews here on this channel, I'm going to be talking about my personal pros, cons, and then I'm going to give my overall rating and review. So let's get right into it. Alright, so let's talk about some of the pros. So my first personal pro to this movie is the candid found footage that is heavily featured throughout the film. Now, I'm not quite sure if any of the footage that is featured here in this documentary has technically never been seen before, and if it's rare, but this documentary did rely heavily on actual footage that was personally filmed by one of Biggie's oldest childhood friends named Damion Butler, aka D-Roc. And essentially what he did back in the 90s was vlog. He pretty much documented behind the scenes of Biggie's early days in his career. So you see footage of him performing in nightclubs, participating in rap battles on the streets, and even just hanging out in hotel rooms or in the car. He was, as the kids would say today, getting that content. And I really liked seeing this kind of footage throughout the documentary because it made the movie feel a lot more personal, especially knowing the close relationship that Biggie and D-Roc had with one another. And the candid footage was a chance for us to just see Biggie being a regular person before he became rap superstar Notorious B.I.G. My second pro to this movie is how the film tied in Biggie's life and lyrics together. So because Biggie wrote a lot of his own music, a lot of his own personal life experiences ended up showing up in his lyrics. And the movie would do this cool thing where you're learning about a particular life moment that Biggie is experiencing, and then they would play a specific lyric from one of his songs and show the actual lyric on screen. And I just thought that was a really neat way to show how his life and his music were essentially tied together. And I think the best illustration of that is when they built up to his song Juicy. I feel like this is the one song that they let play out the longest because this was the song that particularly illustrated and tied up everything we had learned about Biggie up to that point. And honestly, this was probably my favorite moment of the entire documentary. You just felt this great energy shift because the song is just good vibes. My third pro to this movie is that they featured Valletta Wallace, who is Biggie's mom. So I love a mom. Give me a mom in any movie or TV show and I'm all in. And even though there are a lot of great people that you hear from throughout this documentary, for me, the mom is a standout. You can tell the special bond that she shared with her son, and she also has an interesting story of her own as well, which the movie does explore a little bit. You learn how she immigrated from Jamaica to the United States and essentially raised Biggie on her own as a single mom. In general, I always think it's really interesting to hear from the parents of these musical icons, and I just have to give her special kudos for even being part of this documentary. I don't really know too much about the way fans feel about Biggie's estate and the people around him, but from what I watched in the documentary, she feels like a very genuine person who still loves her son, obviously, to this day. And I think her being part of this documentary like further legitimizes the credibility of the movie. Alright, so now let's get to some of the cons. So my first con to this movie is that the pacing is a little bit off. So this movie spends quite a bit of time in Biggie's teens, and you learn what he was getting up to during that time. The movie talks a lot about Biggie and his friends and the close relationship that they had, and they also talk about how he and his friends got into selling drugs, especially on this like particular area in Brooklyn, and there's this like one street that was very dangerous. Like the movie spends quite a bit of time on that particular aspect of his life. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, it does somewhat make sense when you consider the fact that Biggie died at a young age. I still wish they would have spent more time talking about other areas of his life. The last 20 minutes of this film, they talk about Biggie and Tupac, somewhat a little bit of the feud between East Coast and West Coast. They briefly talk about Biggie's success as a recording artist. They briefly mentioned his relationship with Faith Evans, and then they spend a little bit of time on him becoming a father. But essentially everything that I just mentioned is discussed in the last like 20-25 minutes of the film. So, you know, that's a lot of material that they could have worked with, but unfortunately, they just rushed through it all. My second con to this movie is that I wish there was more music featured in this documentary. So like I said earlier, they really build up to the song Juicy, and that was my favorite moment of the movie because you saw how everything in his life that had happened up until that point led up to Juicy, and it was being like reflected in the lyrics, and it was a really cool moment in the movie. And while this was happening, I then realized, wow, where has the music been this entire time? And even though there are moments where they will mention other songs of Biggie's, they really don't play that much of the song. So I just personally wish they featured more of his music, because at the end of the day, the reason why a lot of people became huge fans of Biggie and still feel really connected to him to this day is because of the music. And my third con to this movie is the lack of exploration in terms of Biggie's impact and legacy. Like I said, ending of the movie is a bit rushed, and they spend maybe like 5 minutes or so talking about how influential Biggie is and how you could see him all over New York, and they show murals and they're showing merch and whatnot. But for me personally, I think it would have been nice if during that segment of the documentary, they also interviewed other rappers, hip-hop artists, even current-day rappers and hip-hop artists who can honestly say, yes, Biggie specifically was a huge influence on me as an artist and the music that I make today. I think that would have been a really nice way of showing how influential of an artist he is, and that would have tangibly connected him with today's music. And speaking of legacy, it would have been nice if the documentary was able to interview and speak with Biggie's kids, because they are quite literally part of his family line and part of the legacy. So my overall rating for this movie is a solid B. While I definitely learned a lot watching Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell, I was left wanting more. More music, more about Biggie once he quote-unquote made it, and more on the impact he's had on music today, which is undeniable. I'm not sure how happy diehard Biggie fans will be with this documentary, but to a complete outsider like myself, I have a newfound appreciation for the man and his music. It was a nice entry point for anyone new to the world of Notorious B.I.G, and I think this was a nice touch for a documentary like this to come out, considering he just got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And alright, that's about it for this movie review. If you liked it, please please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and please turn on the notification button down below so you know when a new video from me comes out. And comment down below your thoughts on this movie if you've seen it, and also maybe let me know what's your favorite Biggie song. In terms of my personal favorite Biggie songs, again, this is coming from someone who doesn't really know his discography that well. I've talked about Juicy quite a bit, but it is a really, really great song. But I'll also go with Hypnotize. That's a classic. And all right, that's about it. As always, everything I said was just my own personal thoughts and all my humble opinion, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!